So in my next talk, I would introduce some new ways to provide a human milk fortifier during breastfeeding. Well, we've all heard before that it is recommended, strongly recommended for preterm infants to fortify breast milk during their neonatal course in the intensive care unit and also after discharge. But supplementation of breast milk is difficult once the infants suckle at the breast and is often discontinued at the end of hospitalization and especially after discharge. Thus, the breastfed term infants are exposed to an increased risk of nutritional deficit with a possible consequence on neurodevelopmental outcome. So the question is human milk supplementation a contraindication for breastfeeding? Just to remind you, the ASPICON recommends to fortify breast milk up to term for all the infants, and for those who are growth restricted, they recommend it up to the 3rd month corrected for term. So how can we do some human milk supplementation? The procedure so far was that the mother pumps, the milk is fortified and fed via a bottle, and that exclusive breastfeeding was not possible without bottle feeding, which was very frustrating for the moms. So we developed a new approach. This is, here you can see this device. This is a finger feeder device, which was connected to a syringe. And the approach was to give this fortified milk during breastfeeding. And we investigated this in a prospective observational study, which was published 2017. And the primary objective was to determine acceptance of the new method. Secondary outcomes was to investigate the adherence and feasibility of the new method and to check anthropometric parameters like weight, height, and head circumference. And this was the procedure. So this was the photo gallery, which was handed out to the mothers for the preparation at home, containing 8 pictures. So the first step was what you need. So the fortifier, the kettle, the finger feeder. Then the mothers were instructed to boil the water and pour it into a clean glass. The third step was to drop 5 ml of water with a syringe and discard the rest, and then return the 5 ml into an empty glass and add the fortifier. And we found that 7 grams of fortifier in a 5 milliliter volume is possible, up to 7 grams of fortifier. It's soluble in 5 mL of water. And then the mixture was stirred and drawn up by the finger feeder. And then during breastfeeding, the mixture was applied to the infant. And in the first step, we tried this on the ward. You can see here 29-weeker, he's suckling the breast. And we additionally gave him the fortifier even on the nasal cannula and with the breathing device. This was feasible during the hospital stay. And here you can see an infant immediately before discharge. So this is a 36-weeker who is on breastfeeding, and you see a much more mature suckling and swallowing pattern. So this infant starts suckling, and then you can see here the finger feeder coming in the corner of the mouth, and during the sucking, during the infant sucks at the breast, the fortifier is drawn in the infant. It sometimes takes a little bit time because the infant makes breaks. This is a very slow process. You can see here, this was a maximum of 5 ml. And now the infant consumes the fortifier in combination with the breast milk. The results of the study were that we had no different results in weight gain, which was embarrassing, between the group who used the fortifier and the group who didn't use the fortifier. The general acceptance was very good. Most of the mothers used the fortifier more than one time a day. And in the questionnaires, mothers reported that around 33% of the infants had problems with drooling or insufficient latching with this method. And in general, the mother said that they found it feasible and easy to prepare. The positive feedback was that they didn't have to pump anymore and was possible to exclusively breastfeed. The negative feedback was the reported problems during feeding with the infants, the drooling and the insufficient latch. And this is a typical pattern for a preterm infant. We tried it here again on the ward. And this is again a more immature infant, and he starts suckling at the breast, and we are now approaching with the finger feeder. And this infant has a very immature sucking and swallowing pattern, and it immediately loses latching, as you can see here now. So we are approaching, and then it loses the breast. So this was typical for preterm infants, and mothers reported in 33% of the infants, they had this observation that they sometimes lose the contact to the breast. And yeah, we are proceeding now in a second step and designed a ready-to-use application. This is a prototype. We tried several vials, which is and found that this one, the right one, is best. So the approach is to produce a ready-to-use fortifier for a single portion that you can use immediately at the breast. And we already tried it in a home setting. You can see this new device with the ready-to-use fortifier. And you can see that it's squeezed at the breast, and that the infant is surprised in the first moment and then starts again sucking, and there is no drooling, no latching, no loss of latching, and it is nicely tolerated by the infant. So besides this, there is another device that is possible to administer, that's making it possible to administer fortifier on the breast. This is a breastfeeding device where you put in the milk here, and then you put this tube here on the breast and fix it here. But this is only for experienced moms, because you have to heat the milk up here. You have to, it is too big to use it for the fortifier. You have to put in a larger amount of volume in here. And this is not exclusively for fortifier use, but this is a second device for very, very experienced moms. So I hope that you're inspired by this new method, and that you encourage breastfeeding and fortification for discharged infants with this finger feeder or with the upcoming new device. And finally, I'd like to thank my team